Welcome to episode 50 of FTCE Seminar, a teacher certification podcast. I'm your host, Mercedes Musto. In today's episode, I'll be talking with Dr. Mary Sylvester, whose passion and specialty is multiculturalism and dance education. I'm very honored to have Dr. Sylvester on the show today because in episode 48, we got to talk about music education, and I'm totally an advocate for dance and music, the arts, and culinary arts. I love the exploration of human expression of culture. So enough about me. Welcome to the show, Dr. Sylvester. We're glad to have you on today's podcast.
Thank you for having me.
I think this is a great place to start, Dr. Sylvester. I mean, before we dive into dance education, looking back at your life, was there one specific moment or event that set you on the path of where you are today?
So dance has actually always been a part of my life. I began my formal dance education at the age of 3. My mom was actually a dance educator, and her love of dance inspired me and my personal passion of dance as well. And I can remember as early as kindergarten writing in certain small assignments where we would be asked what we want to be when we grow up. And I knew as early as kindergarten that I wanted to be a dance teacher. But in terms of multiculturalism relative to dance education, what really inspired my work within that was my first year of college. So prior to that, I had what would be considered a more traditional private sector dance education experience that didn't include a tremendous amount of information relative to dance history and dance culture. So in college, when I began actually studying cultural dance forms as well as the history of dances, it really was eye-opening for me and inspired me to further do research within those areas, but also explore some of those dance forms on my own as well. And that further led me to recognize the importance of incorporating students' backgrounds within dance education as well, even if it's not directly related with the style of dance being taught.
I really love your depth of knowledge in this area. I'm thinking, so I can see how dance has impacted your life. Can you share a specific way in which dance has positively impacts the lives of others?
So one of the great things about dance is that it's universal in the sense that everyone can dance in some way. It may be different from one person to another, but dance is for everyone. And everyone dances for different purposes. Sometimes it's for self-expression, sometimes it's as a form of art or exercise. It may be more of a sport to some people, but it also can be an important part of one's culture, and that may even be on a daily basis. So with that, I think that dance, because it's universal in the sense that it can be open to everyone, that in itself is a benefit. It's something that everyone can participate in some way. And I think that in terms of an impact, one thing that's really important is that develops a very strong mind-body connection. And there aren't always, all activities don't always emphasize that to that extent. So I think that that's a really important aspect of participating in dance education specifically. And that mind-body connection is important in one's development and their understanding of themselves.
It's great that you bring that up because I'm thinking in the last podcast about music education, someone in the research said, if I didn't have music, I would feel like something was missing. And I feel like that about the arts. So like, I need music and I need dance and I need culture and I need lovely food. I dance just to feel better. I'll tell you what, I am the person who's dancing when no one's watching, and I have a good time with that. I can see that education's changed over the years, and I believe that dance education has probably changed over the years too. Ideally, what would dance education look like?
So when we look at dance education, it's going to differ based off of the environment in which it's been implemented. So in K-12 education, many times there are a set of standards that are adhered to, as well as measurement goals in terms of achievement. And many times that includes aspects of history and culture. Now, when we're looking at private sector dance education, a lot of times there is a greater focus on technique, performance, or competition. And in those circumstances, it is not as common to see dance history or the cultural aspects of dance or the students being emphasized. So I think ideally having curricula that focuses more extensively on incorporating the background of those dances as well as the backgrounds of students and teachers into dance classes, I think that would be an ideal pathway moving forward to create more inclusive dance education environments.
I would love to see dance integrated into history and to math and to dance PE. That's what we had over at the Maximum Security Detention Center. So I taught a little course, in English. We read about, we studied some dance, cultural dancing. Then we followed up, with a little video, because that's kind of what we had to work with. And then we would dance, and that's what we were all working towards, was dance. And then we kind of echo that over into dance PE, which was phenomenal. Dr. Sylvester, I love stories of inspiration. Was there someone, a mentor, a role model, someone that inspired you? Tell me about that.
So my main role model throughout my life, in all aspects of my life, has been my mom. She is such a hardworking and selfless person, and those are virtues that I really try to strive to achieve in my own life. In terms of dance education, my mom was a dance teacher, and though she was not my personal teacher growing up, her passion for dance is something that I really admired, and that really inspired my personal interest in dance as well as dance education. I was very fortunate growing up to be exposed to many different aspects of performing arts, whether it be dance or music or theater. And through those opportunities, that helped to foster my personal interest within performing arts and specifically dance. So through that, I feel like that's a form of mentorship in itself, is that exposure to those different art forms. And again, that definitely helped to encourage my pathway moving forward into my personal career.
Very well, very well. I've had the honor of meeting Dr. Sylvester's mom, and I'll tell you why. We all need, and we say this in the classroom, every kid needs someone who's just crazy about them, who believes in them, and who supports them. I'm glad you had that, Dr. Sylvester. As teachers, I know that sometimes we're those people. Before we say goodbye, do you have any words of wisdom you'd like to share with our listeners, especially those aspiring to get into dance education?
I think that it's important that even though we are going into education to be teachers ourselves, that we also remain students. And having that understanding and connection of the world around you, I think, is tremendously beneficial in helping to create inclusive environments and environments that are focused on empathy, rather than having a one-size-fits-all approach. So approaching dance education with an open mind and being able to continue to learn and continue to understand the people and the students around you, I feel like that is a substantial aspect of being an educator in our world today.
Dr. Sylvester, I want to express my sincere gratitude for you joining us today. You came all the way down to Pensacola, Florida, and I'm glad to welcome you to Pensacola. It's beautiful out today. It's always hot, and it's always beautiful. We love Florida. Is there anything that you'd like to add in your final thoughts that you'd like to share with our listeners before we conclude?
I think that just going into education as with an open mind and looking at all of your students as individuals, remembering that they are unique human beings that have their own needs, their own interests, their own backgrounds, and being willing to support them in those interests and being able to highlight and praise their personal backgrounds in educational environments.
Well said. I've been thrilled to both attend and present with Dr. Sylvester at National Teacher Conferences 2 years in a row. She's a phenomenal educator and an amazing person Dr. Sylvester, I look forward to having you back on the show, especially as you progress through your career. Again, thank you for visiting.
Thank you so much, Mercedes. It's been an honor to talk with you.
We're going to wrap it up. This is your host, Mercedes Musto. Join me again on FTCE Seminar, a teacher certification podcast.